The Tolkien Road, Episode 113, Tea with Tolkien, an interview with Kaitlyn Facista. All right, go ahead. The Tolkien Road, 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 Hey there, fellow travelers. Welcome to the Tolkien Road, a long walk through Middle-earth. On this episode, we spend some time talking to superfan Kaitlyn Facista about Tea with Tolkien, her endeavor to build an online community of Tolkienites. Before we get started, why not hop on over to iTunes and leave the Tolkien Road a rating and feedback? It's a great way to show your support for the show and takes less than a minute. Or you can stop by TolkienRoad.com, learn about previous episodes, and say hey. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/TolkienRoad. And you can find us on Twitter via @TolkienRoad. Thanks for listening, and enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tolkien Road. John here. Greta, what's up?
Hey, not much. What's up to you?
Not too much. We are joined today by Kaitlyn Facista.
Yay!
One of our, I would definitely call Kaitlyn a super fan. She's
definitely
been an awesome
ranks.
fan who's come along in the last year or so, and it's been great getting to know her a little bit. But we've never actually sat down and had a conversation with her. So, sometimes we like to do special episodes where we have a conversation with some folks that listen to the podcast. Yeah. And so, Kaitlyn, welcome.
Yeah. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Kaitlyn. So Kaitlyn is the founder of a website called Tea with Tolkien, and I've started to get a little more familiar with this website over the last couple of months, and I think it's a really cool website. And so she's doing a lot of stuff there that I wanted to give her the opportunity to share with our listeners, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that a lot of those folks might be interested in, because I know I'm interested, and so I'm like, it's Tolkien stuff. It's good stuff.
Can't go wrong with Tolkien.
But before we dive into all of the Tea with Tolkien stuff, Kaitlyn, I wanted to just give you a chance to share a little bit about yourself, and also like how you came to have such an appreciation or love for Tolkien and all of his stuff. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I'm Kaitlyn, and I am a wife and a mom of two, and I'm a Catholic convert. And I kind of was introduced to Tolkien when I was 9 or 10, and the Fellowship of the Ring movie had just came out on DVD, and someone had given it to my dad as a birthday present. And my dad, being a Star Wars nerd, he was not interested at all in Lord of the Rings. So he just kind of cast the movie aside. Like, I just specifically, vividly remember him just being like, what do I do with this? I don't really want this. You can have it. So he gave it to me, and I was just instantly hooked. And I was just, I don't know if I would say obsessed, but, in junior high, I was just all about Lord of the Rings. And I remember I was, trying to learn Elvish, and I was, 12, and...
Oh, wow.
Neat.
All of that. But I don't think I really did. I couldn't really comprehend it very well, but... Then in high school, I started actually really reading Tolkien a lot, and pretty much every high school project I had to do throughout, in art class, we had to do calligraphy, or in English class, we had to find literary terms, and I remember I used Lord of the Rings to find every example of every literary device that we were learning about. So
nice.
I think they're all in there. It's pretty incredible. Yeah.
We had, I think, 50, and I found every single one. So
wow.
Cool. That's awesome, but at the same time, I'm just I'm not surprised, because it's that's how rich, that's how rich his writing is, That's awesome.
So I just kind of was reading Tolkien all the time, and then when I got married when I was 18, and my husband was 21, and we got to go on our honeymoon to Italy. And so on all of the train rides and the flights and everything, I was just reading Tolkien like over and over. I read like The Lord of the Rings on our honeymoon. And so after that, we a couple years after that, we started kind of looking into Catholicism. And I remember realizing Tolkien was Catholic, which I hadn't known at all. And I hadn't known a single Catholic in my whole life just because we didn't know any. And so realizing he was Catholic, and he was a man that I really respected, and I was just, I looked at him and I was like, this is a guy who knows his stuff, and he just is so steeped in truth and beauty. So then it really made me question, like, maybe this is a good idea. So.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I can totally relate with that. I mean, that sounds almost exactly like kind of how Tolkien affected me in my own journey to Catholicism. There was just this sense of like I kind of fell in love with his stories and the vision, of reality that's there, and it just was this alluring thing. And I'm like, if this guy was really devout about being Catholic, then there must be something there. It was like I need to scratch that I need to scratch below that surface a little bit, and figure out what's going on. And yeah.
Yeah, and I remember joking with my husband. I was like, if it's good enough for Tolkien, it's good enough for me. But like at the same time, that wasn't really a joke.
Yeah.
I was really interested at that point because I just had so much respect for him, and I felt like he had so much wisdom that if he like bought into it, I was looking at it like I was kind of raised not really in favor of Catholics. So realizing that, I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm. No, that's beautiful. And you said that you went to Italy for your honeymoon, right? So that it was kind of like a catalyst, maybe, like just being in the. I know you obviously had been familiar with Tolkien for years before that, but did that have what connection was there to?
You talking about like with being in Italy,
being in Italy and then
around in a very Catholic country,
right?
Or, okay.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, at the time, I didn't really see a connection, but it was just because we were just taking trains everywhere, so we had so much downtime that I was just reading and reading.
Gotcha.
Same with flights. It's like a 10-hour flight, so I was just reading all the time. So that was really nice.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's awesome. Really, really cool. And then is your husband as into Tolkien as you are?
No. No, but he always brags because we played, I think, Lord of the Rings Trivial Pursuit, and he's just very good at guessing.
Man,
I didn't know there was such a thing.
I didn't either.
Yeah, it's really fun, but he actually beat me at it, and he always brags. So
you're just having an off day.
They probably have. I bet we could get Harry Potter Trivial Pursuit. There's probably that out there. We could get that. The kids would probably love that.
Yeah.
But we need to get Lord of the Rings Trivial Pursuit too and play that with them also, like have a deal. Because here's the irony, like I do a Tolkien podcast and all my kids are like, oh yeah, Tolkien, whatever. Harry Potter, yay! Tolkien, whatever, And I'm like, come on, guys.
Maybe Harry Potter will be the gateway into Tolkien.
Could be.
I keep on hoping that, but I don't know, we'll see.
Well, one of our oldest has read The Hobbit, and our second is working on it. Well, there's hope. There's hope. Yeah. No, it's funny. I love that you call your husband your Aragorn. I think that's so. I think that's so awesome.
It totally is, because he's like, Aragorn is like the healer, and my husband's a doctor. Like,
that's perfect. It's just funny too, because he's not, since he's not the, for lack of a better term, the Tolkien nerd that you are. So I think it's just very sweet. So, but it's funny because John and my relationship is very similar. Like, I probably wouldn't have been into Tolkien. I wouldn't be, and he's still way more educated when it comes to Tolkien than I am. But if it weren't for him saying, hey, let's do this podcast together because you'll make me look really smart, I'd read through The Lord of the Rings and, I was like, oh, these are cool, whatever. But I wouldn't probably have taken the time to, to do the deep dive on them if it weren't for the podcast. So I think, it's just funny that your husband and I sound like we're probably more similar, and you two are kind of on the same wavelength when it comes to Tolkien. So anyway,
total Tolkien nerds, yeah.
And I mean that with the utmost love and respect. It's a term of endearment. I don't mean it to be...
Well,
to be degrading in any way. I think it's great. I think it's awesome. And I love Tolkien. I've come to really appreciate and love Tolkien through your eyes and through your eyes and through the people out there that can really... And I know we'll get to this, but that's one of the things I love about your journal, the companion journal that you did for Two Towers, is because I feel like it makes Tolkien very accessible to a group that might otherwise not be, might not be inclined to.
These are the Lord of the Rings is a challenging book. Like, it's not an easy book. I definitely tried to read the Lord of the Rings a couple of times before I actually made it through. I say that a lot about the Silmarillion, but I think the same is true of the Lord of the Rings. It actually took the movie, the Fellowship movie, Peter Jackson's movie, to be like, oh, I got to read the book now. And feel like I was a little grounded in it. It sounds like it was the same for you as a kid, watching the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I was so young. I think I was 9 when it came out, so...
You're making me feel super old.
I feel really young now. I'm like, this is embarrassing.
No, it's not a bad thing.
But, so, I hadn't experienced Tolkien at all before the movie came out, so even though a lot of people, get kind of mad about the stuff Peter Jackson did, I think it was just amazing that it was able to introduce me to it in such a interesting and easy way as a kid.
Absolutely.
Or so, it's so easy.
Yeah, and we always, whenever we do our movie episodes, we say, we like to mention, look, we're going to have some criticisms because, there are ways the movies diverge from the books, and things that are just completely left out. But at the same time, you gotta, I think it'd be completely unreasonable to be like, Jackson messed up or something like that. I mean, what he did was incredible, and there's still some of the greatest films probably ever made.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to it, I don't know that anybody could have really done that much of a better job, than he did. I mean, when you just consider what it took to create those things, they're pretty incredible, and I'm just glad we have them. I mean, there's so many people that would not be into Tolkien if it was not for those movies, and so gotta be thankful for them. But
totally, yeah.
So, Kaitlyn, tell us a little bit about Tea with Tolkien.
How did it come about?
So Tea with Tolkien is basically just a community I've made where...
and by the way, let me say this. It's teawithtolkien.com. So if you're listening to this, go check it out wherever you are. Definitely. Really cool website. So sorry, go ahead, Kaitlyn.
Oh, it's great. So it's just a community that I've kind of tried to create for other people who also love Tolkien. And it's not only about Tolkien's works. I feel like our group is really inspired by his philosophy and his faith specifically. So we try and always look at, whenever we're looking at different aspects of his works, we're kind of thinking how is it affected by his faith, especially his Catholicism. I feel like it shines through in a very strong way. And so I have a Facebook group that is kind of at the heart of Tea with Tolkien. So people join, and we usually just try and start just different discussions with them. We'll do a lot of lighthearted stuff. There's a lot of memes and silly things, but we also do I try to bring into we were talking about last week. We were talking about Boromir when he was kind of confessing to Aragorn about how he tried to take the ring from Frodo, and we were kind of looking at that in the light of the Sacrament of Reconciliation. So I kind of just try and bring the two together in our group, and I feel like it introduces people to Tolkien in a way that they haven't looked at him before. So I really enjoy it.
When did it start? How long has it been around?
I started in February.
Oh, okay. So it's still in its news. So the website and everything is only since February. Wow. Okay. Yeah,
I had been kind of writing about Tolkien things. I used to have a mom blog and an Etsy shop where I made baby goods.
Oh, okay.
And I have been publishing my Tolkien articles on that, and nobody cared at all because it was really far outside what they wanted. So then I kind of realized, why don't I just start something separate for Tolkien? So yeah, I started that in February, and then it's been growing really well since then.
Yeah.
So
I love that you're like sitting here writing all these things about Tolkien for like mommy bloggers, and they're like, why do I care about old guy, old dead guy? You know?
I know. I kind of felt like I was trying to force people to like Tolkien, and then I realized, why don't I just go to the people who already like him?
Like honestly, I won't go into all of this right now, but it might be a conversation between you and me for another time. But like sometimes I feel the same way, because a lot of I definitely launched out originally when I started down this road in late 2014. The website that I started that's now True Myths was Tolkien Catholic, and I've kind of struggled along the way, like, okay, what is the group, like, what's the identity? Like, there's Tolkien fans, and then there's Catholics, and then there's there's probably an overlap of some size there, but it's like, trying to do like the spiritual sort of like dig into Tolkien, not just from a like Dungeons and Dragons kind of like, fantasy geek perspective, but like into the more like spiritual significance of it all, right? And it sounds like you're trying to do something very similar, which is, really cool to see the success that you're having with this Tea with Tolkien endeavor.
Yeah, it's been really fun.
Yeah, I love the community. I like and so you've got a Facebook group where a lot of the community activity of it occurs. The website's beautiful, by the way. Whoever designed it, you've got to have some kind of visual artistic training or background, because it seems like you do a lot with the photographs and everything are just so nice that you put out.
Really pretty.
No, I just use Squarespace, and I just feel like Squarespace makes it so easy to have a beautiful website.
Squarespace will be calling you for the advertisement there.
I know. I've had a couple of people ask me who designed it, and I was like, I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I feel like it was pretty simple to do it with Squarespace. They like make it easy for you.
That's cool. I've got a good friend who is like a visual designer, and he swears by Squarespace as well. I actually build websites. I don't use Squarespace when I do it, but man, that's
they won't be calling you, will they?
They won't be calling me, I guess. We'll be charging them for the advertising on the podcast, whether they want to pay us or not. But yeah, it's a really beautiful website. But even so, like it's not just the layout of the site either, but it's just the photography that you have, like, for your products, and just the different things that you put out in various places. Like, I think you took my book, Tolkien's Requiem, at one point and put it into some kind of setting, and I was just like, that's the greatest picture of my book of all time. Like,
yeah, I think I like copied it and texted it to him, and his response was, "She takes pretty pictures." I'm like, "Yes, she does."
Yeah, that's why I like Instagram.
Just makes things look nice.
This makes
yeah.
Well, do you have any kind of formal photography training or anything like that, or just? Yeah.
No, I just have my iPhone.
Wow.
Your iPhone.
Yeah, well, I just kind of have learned throughout the years, because I feel like I put a lot of thought into Instagram, and so I just kind of like tweak it a lot and edit it a little bit. So
That's a skill. That's definitely a skill.
Very cool.
It is very cool. No, I love it.
Let's see here. So you need to go join the Facebook group.
So how do you do that? You have to go on Facebook and.
Well, you can actually go to Tea with. It looks like you can go to Tea with Tolkien, and it says join the conversation. Yes. So I love this. To escape into reality for a moment. I love the fact that you say to escape into reality for a moment.
Yeah, I actually read that twice, and I was like,
yeah, because you normally think like to escape reality, and you're like,
from reality.
No, like, but you nailed it. Like, that's what Tolkien's all about. He's not about escaping from reality. He's about escaping deeper into reality, right? He's about escaping from all of the false reality that we have around us on a daily basis, which is just in our time is like incessant, and escaping into the actual reality for a moment or two, which is really like that's what Catholicism and contemplation and all that kind of stuff are. Like, you're going into the deeper reality that exists all around us, but we're so obsessed with everything else that we forget about it. But it says, to escape into reality for a moment or two, we chat theology, philosophy, literature, family, and home. Sit down in a nice cozy chair with a cup of tea and a cake or two, nestled in our own corner of modern-day Hobbiton. That sounds real nice.
That sounds really nice. I want to go to there.
I want to go to there, indeed.
Yes.
So it says, right below that, it says, join the conversation. Join our closed Facebook group for discussion, our book club, and community here. Our book club is currently reading through The Two Towers. So, and then there's a Tea with Tolkien newsletter also that you can subscribe to.
Wow.
So, awesome. Like, so
awesome,
that's how you join this closed Facebook group that Kaitlyn has. And on this group, like, it's open basically once you've been approved to join it, which I think you're just trying to make sure like people aren't robots or something like that try to join it. But so like I joined it this morning and it was like really quick. But like it's basically people can post things that like related to Tolkien that they might just want to get off, share with the group or whatever, which is really cool.
That is really cool. And I have to ask you, as a mom with 2 little kids, how do you find the time? Really? Because you have so much going on and it's all so beautiful and thoughtful. Is it just like burning the candle at both ends, or I'm a mom. I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's a little bit of that, but I started this during the school year when my preschooler was in school, so it was a lot easier. But now that everyone's on summer break, it's been more of a challenge. But I usually just stay up for a couple hours after everyone goes to bed and work on it.
Gotcha.
Or maybe like once a week or once every other week I'll get a babysitter for a couple hours and then I can go to coffee shop and work on it.
Neat. That's just beautiful. I love it because it's clearly a
that Frodo.
Frodo.
The meme. Yeah, so this is great. I mean, there's there's like some deeper content, like some articles that you shared on here, but there's also just some like gags,
you're saying,
right?
Some memes and lighthearted funnies and
yeah. I feel like I try and do a good mix of both so that people do get something out of it, but I don't want it to feel like a very serious group that people feel intimidated by, or a lot of the times like. I know a couple people have mentioned that they were really glad that they had this group because there aren't really very many people in the group that are like Tolkien experts, and I'm also not a Tolkien expert, so it has a very laid back feel where people can ask questions and they feel comfortable and they don't get like snubbed by people who are like, of course, why didn't you know that? So
yeah, I feel like there's like there's a big Reddit group for Tolkien, and I haven't been on it in years, and I think there's probably a lot of like really nice people on there. But yeah, sometimes when you get into the middle of a big group of Tolkien people, it can feel like that. Like you're just like, oh, come on, don't you know the Elvish word for toast or something like that?
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you? You're not really a Tolkien fan. Get out of here. It's like, come on. Like, I just like The Lord of the Rings. It's a cool book.
Yeah.
It speaks to me.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful, and that's. That's obviously really what we strive for our podcast, too, is just not taking it too seriously, but still, going deep when there's room to go deep, but also not nerding out too often, to the extent that we're alienating a great portion of the population that might want to participate.
Well, I mean, that's just the incredible thing about Tolkien, what he
did,
is it can appeal on so many different levels, right? It's such a multifaceted, universe that he created.
Yes. Absolutely.
Well, cool. So everybody who's listening, you need to right now, if you're smart,
which we know you are.
Well, we know you are
because you're listening to our podcast.
Right. You wouldn't have listened this far if you weren't.
Right.
You want to go over to Tea with Tolkien and sign up for the Facebook group so that you can have enjoyable conversations with other people who love Tolkien. So.
I need to ask something real quick.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Tea with Tolkien. Do you ever drink coffee, or is tea your jam?
I always drink coffee.
Okay.
I don't think.
Coffee with Tolkien doesn't have the same.
Yeah, it doesn't. I'm just like, is this like an alliteration thing, or I like tea. I just you know, I would most times I go for
if
coffee.
If you're going to join the group, that's one disclaimer. You have to you can only drink tea, and you have to drink it from a small mug, and you have to hold your
pinky up in the air.
Right. And you have to sip it. That's right.
Our group does talk a lot about tea, though. There's usually a thread going where people are asking each other, like, what's the best kind of tea that I can try? So
that's cool.
I mean, I like tea a little bit, but I'm definitely a coffee drinker.
Oh, how funny. You know, I feel like we're coffee drinkers as well. But I feel like there's been a couple of phases where we've been really into tea. And it usually happens in the winter. I think tea is a very, it's a very comforting thing. When I'm sick, I want tea. But I know when we've been into it, like when we've taken the time and actually like ordered like the loose leaves and like the really good stuff from, wherever it comes from, like it's awesome. But anyway.
Did Tolkien have a favorite type of tea? Do you know that?
I have no idea.
Well, I know because the reason I asked...
English breakfast.
English breakfast.
Probably.
Earl Grey.
Earl Grey.
Yeah.
I prefer Lady Grey.
He was an Earl Grey before Jean-Luc Picard. You probably don't even get that. Do you get that, Caitlin? Do you get the reference there, Caitlin?
Picard. No.
I don't really get it, but I'm gonna...
But she's going to pretend like she does.
Star Trek.
I'm going to pretend like I do and
Which
laugh.
is what I do all the time, because I don't want him to have to take the time to explain it to me.
Star Trek. Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Anyway.
I knew the name sounded familiar.
Let's see. So the reason I ask about the tea is because Tolkien apparently had a favorite type of tobacco, and I've tried that tobacco before. It's like, what is it? Blue something.
I don't remember.
Anyway, I thought maybe he had a favorite type of tea that's out there, but he probably does. Somebody probably knows it.
It was probably something very normal. Like
yeah, it probably was.
If you're listening and you know the answer to that, then you need to go over to, you can either email us or you can do both. You can email us at tolkienroadpodcast@gmail.com, or you can go over to the Tea with Tolkien community on Facebook and let everybody know there, but probably do both.
Do both. Make sure the bases are covered.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've actually seen on Etsy there are several different like Tolkien blends of tea, where they're like loose leaf blends. I've wanted to try them, but I haven't tried them yet.
Huh. What if what's the long bottom leaf? Yeah, that's tobacco.
Isn't that tobacco?
It is
yeah,
tobacco.
I was gonna say I don't think that's tea.
Yeah.
No, that would be worth trying though. The Tolkien blends. I bet that would be.
I'll have to try them soon.
Yeah.
Tell everyone.
That's and then maybe you can develop your own and share it. Sell it on your Etsy shop.
I'm just waiting for all the tea companies to start reaching out to me for like sponsoring or something.
Hey, you know what? It very well could happen. You've only been around since February. Just take some time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, I do want to ask you a little bit about your Etsy shop. Did that precede your Tea with Tolkien? Because I know you talked about like you had a store, like baby. You would make baby stuff.
Yeah, well, I had a separate shop. It was called Lily and Mama. It's actually still open, but I mostly work on Tea with Tolkien, so I don't really update it very often.
Okay.
But I've made baby slings and like blankets and like little gifts for babies.
Oh, okay. So, okay.
And the Tea with Tolkien shop, I already like knew my way around Etsy.
Okay.
So it was really easy. I opened that I think in March.
Okay. So right after you started the community.
And so are these like items that you kind of like created yourself or designed yourself?
I work with a girl named Jen Olson. She's of Fjord Design Studio. Okay. And I'll tell her what I have in mind, and then she'll usually create the image for me. And then I have it produced.
Oh, that's awesome. So like the t-shirt that I'm looking at here, it's like a black and white
it's like a raglan
kind of t-shirt. It has the teacup and then the Silmarillion, the Fellowship, Hobbit, Two Towers, Return of the King. So like she drew, you kind of were like, hey, I have this idea. You maybe sketched it and she sent it over to you.
Yeah.
Or you sent it over to her. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I actually learned how to screen print myself. So all of the shirts I actually screen print myself. Which has been really
neat. That's very cool. I love that design with the books and the teacup on top. I have a good friend who got her daughter the tote bag with that design on it. Yeah. And I love it.
Yeah.
It's really
I love it too. I was amazed. Like I just had this idea and then I gave it to her and I was just blown away when she actually created it and brought it to life.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's
it's very cool. Well, I love this because one of the aspects of Tolkien that is so inspiring to me was how important creativity was to him in kind of his anthropology, right? Like how he understood human beings. And, he didn't just, like, for him, and I feel like the modern world so much tells us that, like, creativity is this, like, extra thing that you can kind of choose to do if you're so inclined, but it's kind of, a lot of people look at it and it's like, oh, it's artsy-fartsy stuff, like, whatever. But, like, but for Tolkien, creativity was such an important part of what it means to be a human being. And when I look at the stuff that you've collaborated with someone else to create here, it's just there's a handcraft, like kind of a handcrafted quality. Maybe the best term to use is just like hobbitish quality to it. Like this is not like slick looking stuff, but it's beautiful. Like it's beautiful in a very like down to earth way.
I was just gonna say down to earth.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you. It's beautiful.
And it's just, I think, I don't know. I mean, I can't. Obviously, none of us can speak for Tolkien, but I just have the sense that he'd be delighted to see like these sorts of things.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
They kind of fit his vibe.
Totally agree.
And so you need to go check out, if you're listening, you need to go check out her Kaitlyn's Etsy shop. You can get there again through Tea with Tolkien, and the top it says Etsy shop there.
So you got T-shirts and tote bags and
coffee mugs. Yeah, which you got the Hobbit at Heart.
Yeah.
Coffee mug, awesome.
Yeah,
that's great.
I love it.
On the Hobbit door. That's really cool.
Yeah, it is. That's right. Yeah. On the bag-in door. That's right.
Yep.
So just again, very nice pictures, like good stuff to look at. You've got they're like resting on little. Oh, you got the Hobbit over on the side. You got the book over on the side. And then it's like resting on a little piece of wood. Yeah, so that's
like
cool.
a tree. Is it a coaster? Is it or is it?
I think it's like a cake tray type of thing. Like
nice. But it looks like a piece of a tree trunk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like a wood slice tray.
Gotcha. Very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah,
now, do you have plans to? Do you have any other projects in the works that you're thinking about adding to the shop, or?
I'm coming out. I'm making some they're olive green ladies racerback tanks.
Oh.
With the same book design. And then I also am really excited I'm kind of expanding in a little way. I'm having, we're kind of working on a lattes with Lewis idea.
Oh, neat.
And so I'm kind of excited about that. I'm not sure what I'll put it on, if it'll be like mugs or shirts, but kind of that'll be a little thing that I'm working on.
So will that be a separate?
It'll be in the same shop. It'll be under Tea with Tolkien, but just as another thing, and then maybe I'll expand to some other authors. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. That's actually. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that was just kind of my idea. Just I want it to be at least 80% Tolkien, but I'm not opposed to introducing other authors to the shop too.
Right, that are kind of in the same vein, similar philosophy. I was wondering, actually, you mentioned Lewis. What other authors? I know Tolkien's way up here, but what else, when you're not reading Tolkien, what else do you like to read, or who else has inspired you literally and literarily?
Well, I'm pretty much always reading Tolkien, but
well, good thing there's no end in sight, really. So
I know. Well, he's so rich. I don't know if it could ever be done. And then when you finish, you just have to start over.
Yeah, but, that's true.
I really love Ray Bradbury.
Oh, cool.
He was up until I realized how much I loved Tolkien, he was my favorite author for a long time.
Good call. Yeah.
And then also Harry Potter was really influential to me when I was younger, and I just started reading Anne of Green Gables.
Oh, fun!
I'm not very far into it. A lot of my other mom friends are very into it, so I thought I'd give it a try.
How funny! It's interesting to me to see that. I mean, I read Anne of Green Gables when I was, middle, high school, I would call John my Gilbert, like you call, your husband.
I don't even know what that means. I hope that's good.
It's very good. It's very good. But it's just interesting to me to see, like, women, like, moms really latching on to Anne of Green Gables. It kind of makes me want to go back and read it again, because I feel like maybe I would obviously approach it from a much different perspective. But I love Anne of Green Gables as well. It's just cool. It's really sweet. Very different, obviously.
Yeah, it is very different. My daughter really, we're really not very far, because I'll read it aloud to my daughter, and she's 4, so she doesn't have a very long attention span.
Slow going.
We're probably like 1 or 2 chapters in, but she always asks for it. It's so cute.
That is really sweet. I've been trying to get my daughter to read it, and she's such a tomboy. She's just like, she just has this idea in her head that there's just no way she's going to be able to relate to Anne. And I keep trying to tell her, I'm like, no, Anne's actually kind of a tomboy too, like, especially in the early books. And I just can't get her to do it. She's just...
That or Tolkien, man.
I know. It's a little...
Maybe if you just stop suggesting it, then they'll think
that's
whatever
probably...
you do, don't read Anne of Green Gables.
Whatever
you do,
don't
read Tolkien.
Yeah. No, but
sometimes it seems like how it works.
Yeah. That's usually how it works.
That's true. Yeah.
I have an idea.
What?
Falafel with Flannery.
Falafel with Flannery. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That really rolls off the tongue.
That's right.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Just right off of there. I can do more if anybody wants ideas out there. I'm opening up shop. John's alliterative store. Discussion group ideas.
Oh, man.
No, I love it. I'm looking forward to hearing more about Lattes with Lewis. Honestly, when you do come out with that, because Lewis was hugely inspiring for me from a young age, well before Tolkien actually. And obviously he and Tolkien were very close friends. And there's a lot of works I need to go back and read at some point of C.S. Lewis's, but there's so much Tolkien to read. It's like, dang.
I know. It's hard. It's hard to find the time.
Yeah.
It's, but no, they're both awesome.
Well, let's talk about your Two Towers journal, because is this actually officially released?
Yeah, we're almost halfway through it in our book club right now.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, my same friend that ordered the bag, whose daughter has your tote bag, pre-ordered one of these. And it was so funny, like when you sent these to us and we got them in the mail last week, I sent her pictures, like, look what I got. I was like, she's like, please, I totally pre-ordered that, and I've had it for 2 weeks. I'm like,
I've already had that for a week.
No, but to be honest, because she actually had, I guess when they first hit your shop, my friend had texted me and said, hey, have you seen these? And I was like, no, I haven't. So I kind of looked at it a little bit, and I wasn't quite sure. Like, I understood it was a journal, but I didn't quite get how it worked with the Two Towers. But I've spent some time looking through it now, and I just think it's awesome. Like I said, I wish I want to go back and read the Two Towers just so I can use this journal. It
reminds me of, a few years ago, we were talking to, I can't remember who we were talking to, but I think it was like, maybe it was one of our CFR friends, one of the Franciscan friars, but whoever it was telling us that they know of, like cloistered religious, like, so it's like nuns and monks and that kind of thing, who will actually do like Lord of the Rings for their spiritual reading, like, because they have to do spiritual reading in order to and it's supposed to be like church fathers or something like that they do, right? And they're supposed to be doing it like every day, and they have to actually get permission if it's not like a normal thing, and they actually will get permission to read the Lord of the Rings as their spiritual reading. And I love that idea, because that was kind of when I was starting doing, my own stuff, and I was really wanting to get like more into that spiritual side of reading Tolkien. That's part of the reason I wrote Beren and Luthien. But I mean, what you've done here is kind of along those lines with the Two Towers journal. You look through, and it's structured chapter by chapter. you have kind of a short reflection, and then you have an area where people can interact with what you've written and with the chapter as they read it. And then you have another reflection that's more of a like you'll have a reflection on the events of the chapter. So I'm looking at the departure of Boromir, and then you'll say, like, you have on the road, right? Is there anything in your life that is weighing heavily on your heart? If so, what can you do to make things right? And you have this discussion of how the departure of Boromir overlaps with the sacrament of reconciliation, which is what you were mentioning earlier. So, where did the idea to do this journal come from?
So, as our group began reading The Fellowship of the Ring, I think in the beginning of March. Mm-hmm. And so each week for our discussion, I had been writing up something similar. Mm-hmm. So I would write like a short summary, and then maybe like 4 or 5 like reflection or discussion prompts. And then as we were about halfway through the fellowship, it kind of occurred to me that I should create a journal, because in the Facebook group, you have the threads, and if there's a certain thread that is inactive, it gets pushed down to the bottom of the page, and so you can't see it as easily. So some people were like getting lost on where the discussion was and stuff. And as I was reading it, I was taking notes in a notebook, and then or on like loose pieces of paper. So I would kind of like lose those pieces, and they would be all over the place. So I thought creating a set place to have all of your notes and reflections and thoughts would be really nice. And then I thought that would be really nice to have it line up with when our group started the Two Towers. Mm. We started in the beginning of June, I think. So then I did the pre-order, and then everyone who's reading along with us, they don't have to buy the journal, of course, to do the book club, but it's been really nice for the people who do have it, because I feel like they are digging a lot deeper with us as a community.
Mm-hmm. No, it's great. And I think I mentioned earlier, I don't know if we were recording it or not, but what I love about it is I feel like it just makes the book so much more accessible to a group of people that might not, that might look at Tolkien and be like, oh, there's no way. Mm-hmm. Like, there's just no way I could get through that and really appreciate it, and I don't have the time for that, and, like the investment versus reward ratio might not be in their favor. But this, I feel like, totally, not necessarily makes it more worthwhile, but just just helps you to go deeper and just makes you really think about things, and the practical part of it too. I feel like especially for women and moms, we kind of are like, we're kind of focused on the practical a lot of the time, and this has so much practical wisdom in it that you can, because if you don't have, sometimes it just helps for someone to be like, think about this, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, let me think about that, and then you're like, oh yeah, totally. But if you're just reading through it yourself, it could just, just totally fly over top of your head, and you just don't. So anyway, that's why I love it, because I just feel like it just really, and I love how unapologetically Catholic it is too.
Yes. Yeah. I think in the beginning of the introduction, I wrote something like, "This is going to be very Catholic." So if you're going to be offended by it, then this probably isn't for you. But if you don't mind, then you can go ahead.
Well, and
that's awesome.
No one's sitting here and saying, like, I don't think there's anything in here that's going to, like, be, like, necessarily, like, offensive to non-Catholics. It's more of just, like, hey, it's because Tolkien was not apologetic about being Catholic. And and it wasn't just an extra, oh, by the way, my faith is Catholicism. Like, it was a thing. He says, you quote, the famous quote, "It's a fundamentally religious and Catholic work, The Lord of the Rings." That's what Tolkien said himself. And if you don't recognize that, then you don't fully grasp the significance of what he was doing. But at the same time you say that, I really appreciate the fact that you said, look, I'm doing this journal, but I don't want you to misunderstand. I'm not saying The Lord of the Rings is some allegory that I'm explaining to you here. Which, for those who listened early on, like, that was a thing I harped on big time. It was like, Lord of the Rings, Tolkien was very clear, he was not a fan of allegory. So
as much as he loved Lewis and loved the Narnia books, I'm sure, That was not his deal.
No, I don't think he loved the Narnia books very much, but
Well,
he did love Lewis.
I'm sure he was encouraging to Lewis in his writings, maybe?
Yeah.
Because they were friends.
I don't know. There are a lot of really hilarious memes about the Tolkien-Lewis conversation where they're kind of making fun of each other.
Oh, really?
There are a couple in our group. I saw them this morning, and when I don't remember what they were, but it was always Tolkien just making fun of Lewis for his such obvious allegory.
Oh, how funny! How funny!
I have to. You post some of those to the Tea with Tolkien group?
We have a GIF thread going, or a meme thread going, and someone posted it.
Okay.
That's awesome.
That is, yeah.
I want to see some of those. That's good stuff. So, let's see here. So, we'll looking at an example chapter. So, chapter 3, the Black Gate is closed. I wanted to read a little bit of this one. So, this is book 4, chapter 3.
Oh, okay.
You have a quote from Frodo, which starts it off. I'm commanded to go to the land of Mordor, and therefore I shall go. If there is only one way, then I must take it. What comes after must come. And right after that, you have the short reflection. Gollum leads Frodo and Sam to the Black Gate, where they find it closed and impassable. There, Gollum offers a new plan, which is darker, more difficult to find, more secret. Frodo struggles to discern his course, suffering something reminiscent of Christ's agony in the Garden of Gethsemane. Frodo agonizes over the decision, wishing desperately for the counsel of Gandalf, until at last he decides to follow Gollum once more on this new path. As they change course, Frodo warns Gollum of the gravity of his oath to the precious. Despite all weariness and fear, Frodo has committed himself wholeheartedly to his task. He has accepted that it will likely claim his life, yet he does not turn back. He has a great respect for his role as ring-bearer and holds firm to the command given to him. This is just a great little summary of that chapter, of one aspect of the spiritual significance of it. And so this is what you do for each chapter in the book. And you have an area there to record your notes and reflections. You actually have a scripture quote. You have different quotes which tie into each chapter, not always scripture, but this one has a scripture quote from the Gospel of Mark. Yet not what I will, but what you will. And then you have this on-the-road reflection. And so I think each chapter has the on-the-road reflection. What are you trying to accomplish with that part of it?
So my main goal of this journal and all of Tea with Tolkien is to just encourage people to grow in both hobbitness and holiness.
Awesome.
So for the on-the-road reflections, they're either going to be one or the other. It's either going to be kind of reflecting on some kind of principle, which is, it's usually going to be a Christian principle or a Christian, a scripture verse or a quote from a saint or something like that. So, and then it's usually I trying to end it how can you be encouraged by this, or make a list of what you can do in order to grow in this way. Or then for some of the other ones, I'll kind of take an attribute of the hobbits, like when the hobbits are in Isengard and they're just sitting around eating and just relaxing kind of. And I was kind of encouraged by that. How can you take a time, how can you recognize when it's time to just take a break and eat and just to kind of relax, or things like that. Just kind of how we can learn from the characters in Tolkien's works and just grow as people in that way.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I love that it really helps you, these on the road reflections. It helps you connect. And again, like I said, I feel like it makes it more accessible to, this isn't just some removed alternate reality that has absolutely no bearing on our current lives. This is something that we can learn from, and then we can also, glean little pearls of wisdom from to incorporate into our daily lives.
Yeah, I feel like I just need to post that above my desk or something, how do I grow in hobbitness and holiness?
Yes.
It's almost two sides of the same coin, the human journey. Well, it really is the divine and the human, right? It's a very incarnational kind of thing, right? Holiness is the divine and the hobbitness is the humanness, right? In a true into a true humanity, right?
Yes.
how do I do that? And the hobbitness and the holiness is a good way to think about it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Let me read the on the road reflection here. So this one says, take time today to read and reflect on Christ's agony in the Garden of Gethsemane, accounted in Mark 14, Matthew 26, and Luke 22. Frodo's struggle to carry out his quest is reminiscent of Christ's agony in these passages. Greatly troubled, Christ grappled with accepting the will of the Father in the face of his coming suffering. We feel this agony, and our hearts break alongside his. Inspired by Frodo, following in the footsteps of Jesus, how can you seek out the will of God regardless of its cost? Where can you find the strength? How can you experience the death to self taught by Christ, even if just in seemingly small ways? How was Christ comforted in his agony, and how can you seek out this same comfort? I mean, I can almost see these being like used as like Lenten journals, like a Lenten journey through the through the Lord of the Rings, you know, like because of the intense pleasure that one gets from reading Lord of the Rings, it almost feels like it's something you shouldn't do during Lent. But then again, it's like here's a spiritual like perfect spiritual pilgrimage during it, right? But that's but Lent then again is not really it's not supposed to be a period of like the agony. It's supposed to be a period of like preparation and of expectation of the greater joy that lies at the end of it, you know. So it's great stuff.
Really, really great.
Very inspiring stuff, Kaitlyn. That and just really very cool. And again, shout out to. I just really like the way you've laid it all out too. These are, like the products that I feel like you sell on your site. There's a hobbitish kind of beauty to them. These it's not like a super ornate frilly journal. It's a very practical journal, but it still is laid out that's in a way that's visually appealing. And the artwork, the cover art, is pretty cool.
Yeah, really cool. It's
by the same artist who does all of our other designs, so she's so talented.
Yeah, very cool.
It's really, really
Does she have a website? Maybe we can give a shout out to her.
Yeah, I think she's just on Etsy. It's Fiore Design Studio.
Okay, so Fior, is that right?
Fiore.
Fiore Design Studio. So if you're interested in checking out some of her work as well, go check out Fiore Design Studio. She has
mugs and prints and all kinds of stuff. She's so talented.
Yeah, very cool.
Very cool. Yeah, so you mentioned that you have a book club as well that's reading through the Two Towers. Is that part of the Facebook community as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the Facebook community, I have created events. So there's one event for each Monday. Okay. Because we meet every Monday. Okay. So we meet online.
Through Skype or just via Facebook?
No. Just in the event. Like it's just.
Okay. I'm
I
created a Facebook. I'm clueless when it comes to Facebook, so.
That would be cool though, but I don't think our group. It seems like people are pretty busy, so usually just sometime throughout the week, I have the event open up, and then people can just comment whatever, and I'll post prompts. And then what I've also started doing is I'll find like artwork based on whichever chapters we're on, and I'll post that with the link to the author as kind of the artist, kind of as an artist spotlight.
Neat.
So we do that, and then we'll just talk about different prompts and reflections on each chapter, just in the event. We also have another. It's like a subgroup. It's in a separate group. Another member of our community is leading a book club through The Hobbit. Also.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'm not leading that one just because I don't have the time to do that, but someone else just stepped up and said they wanted to do it, so I made a second. It's just called Tea with Tolkien Book Club, The Hobbit.
Okay.
So,
cool.
Yeah, so people can join that too if they're wanting to read The Hobbit, because I know it's kind of a bummer when they want to jump in, but we're halfway through the second book of The Lord of the Rings. So.
Right. You do a chapter a week, because that's kind of how it.
We usually do 2 chapters a week.
Oh wow. Okay.
We started out with 1, and then half of the people in my group kept reading ahead.
Oh.
And so they would be like, "I'm on chapter 10," and I'm like, "We're supposed to be talking about chapter 3 today."
So you move through them pretty quick. So
yeah, it's hard to do 1 chapter a week when you're, especially like when we were reading the Fellowship of the Ring. A shortcut to the mushrooms was like, I don't know. I feel like it was only like 5 pages long.
Right. Yeah. No, that's true. That's really That's very cool. And I guess John and I kind of have he's my book club for Tolkien, but I'm part of another book club, and he, in Franklin, and it's a beautiful way to connect with other people. Like, it's just amazing to me how literature can really cause people to open up and share, and how much more you can learn about and appreciate a work just by talking about it with other people who have read it, because not everybody's going to get the same thing out of it. And when you can share those different insights, it's just like, it's a beautiful thing. So.
It is great,
yeah.
Yeah, there's a, and I don't have the quote off ready at hand, but C.S. Lewis talked a lot about that, and there's a great quote from him where he talks about like that you don't truly you haven't fully completed your enjoyment of a thing until you've shared it with somebody else, and that idea was again an inspiration behind doing the podcast, and it's just like there's so many great things, and here's another way in which you're realizing that idea, and you're helping others to realize that idea, right? Where as much as probably a lot of us who read Tolkien like to just like curl up with the book ourselves and just get lost in that world, there's an additional layer of like you've got to be able to share it with somebody. Like, you got to be able to share the things that you take away from it with somebody to really complete that enjoyment.
Yes,
definitely,
absolutely.
It's so nice too, because when so many people, different kinds of people from all different walks of life and different beliefs, and we're all just like reading the same thing and then just discussing what we get out of it, I feel like you gain so much more insight from other people, and you understand the book in a different way, and
absolutely,
it feels like we're all growing together as we read it together.
Yes, exactly. And it really enhances that, that feeling of community. There's just one more thing to kind of draw you together and closer. And this is a little off topic, but I wanted to be sure I mentioned it. I was looking at your blog last night, and I noticed you have this, you have a series on there about hospitality. And,
so just FYI, everybody who's listening, there's a blog. So it's you've got the Facebook group, but then you also blog. You have you post articles that you've written on various aspects of Tolkien's world on Tea with Tolkien.
Yes.
I haven't been super active on that just during summer break, but I'm hoping like once my oldest is back in school that I'll have a little bit more time to write on that.
Well, I hope you do, because the one article I read through last night, At Home in Middle Earth, The Heroism of Life-Saving Hospitality, I loved it, and I really appreciated so much about it. And I just want to read this one thing that you wrote on here in this article. It says, if more of us valued mornings spent in conversation over coffee, or meals shared with good friends, above perfectly cleaned homes or overpacked schedules, it would be a merrier world. And I just want to give you an air five. I'm like, preach it. Because that's just, that's the kind of thing that our world needs to hear, right? Because that's what's true. And you talk about growing in, hobbitness and holiness. That kind of, when you're willing to throw open your doors, and welcome people, and despite the fact that your house is a wreck and you're exhausted and whatever, but that's really how you can get re-energized, and we truly would have a merrier world. So I do hope that you spend more time writing about that, because I just hospitality is something I think that we could all grow in, that virtue, and it's also very Hobbit-like.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite thing I've ever written too. And I kind of have an outline going where I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I have like an idea to write a whole book on that idea of just the hospitality of the different peoples of Middle Earth, and like what we can learn from that, and carrying it into our own lives.
I think that would be awesome, because I loved it, and everybody's listening. You should go and read that. You should do everything. Just go Tea with Tolkien and just explore everything
just
there.
Just go spend a week on Tea with Tolkien. And,
I know, we're giving them a long to-do list.
We are. Little bits, steps.
Like, in all seriousness, all you have to do is just go to teawithtolkien.com, and there's this kind of little world of Kaitlyn's that she's it's a gateway to. So you can find out what makes sense for you. But it's all right there. So just go to that site, bookmark it, and check it out when you do the Tolkien Fix.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
So so how do people get their hands on the journal? Is it also through your Etsy shop?
Yep, it's just in there. They're not on pre-order anymore. I have them right in my hands. So if they order them, I could ship them out like that day.
Awesome.
That's really
and then follow-up question to that. So when are we going? So you did the Two Towers journal first. When are we going to see Fellowship and then Return?
So that whole question is so awkward because I started the book club with the Fellowship, and we didn't. And then halfway through the Fellowship, I came up with the idea for the journal. So I didn't have time to write the Fellowship. So then I did the Two Towers. So now that we're reading through the Two Towers, I'm about halfway through the Return of the King's journal.
Oh,
so I'm thinking that will come out in August. Then after that one's out, I have to go back and write the Fellowship journal.
Awesome.
Well, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to put off our reading of Return of the King until I can have the journal.
Oh, okay.
That's
well,
my stipulation.
You need to hurry up and write Return of the King then. Because we're supposed to be getting back to that
Caitlin,
soon.
No pressure. No.
I'll just get a full-time nanny and then I'll do it.
There you go.
Right on.
Yeah, it was just amazing. I love that you make this such a priority, because I know how busy the life of a stay-at-home mom is. Like, I swear it's it's one of the most rewarding but most exhausting vocations, and I just love that that you make time for this, because it's a huge blessing to many people.
Yeah.
And I know the sacrifices it takes too.
Yeah, I feel like it's as much of a blessing to myself that I feel like it's self-care in a way, that because a lot of the jobs that you do as a stay-at-home mom, like washing dishes and laundry, that's so mindless. Like,
yes,
you're not thinking about anything really while you're doing it. So this really challenges me to actually use my brain, and I don't know, I just feel like it just gives me so much joy to do this, and just to be able to share it with others is a bonus, because I would just probably write all this for myself if no one else would read it. But it's awesome that other people like it too.
Well, yeah, and that's I think why it's so great, is because you would do this just for yourself. You're not doing it, you're not doing it as a publicity stunt or anything like that. Like, you're doing it for you.
I think there's like I think the idea of you think about Tolkien and what did he, like, how did he get started on all of this? Like, he started on the Silmarillion when he was young, and he probably thought, no one will ever want to read this, right? No one will ever want to read these stories about this strange world that I made, right? And next thing you know, 100 years later, he's, a book that came out of that world was one of the best-selling books of the 20th century, and everybody knows who J.R.R. Tolkien is. And like, for me in my creative endeavors, I try to have the mindset of, like, if I feel an inspiration and it kind of, I don't know, how do you really test it out whether it's worth doing or not? But there's a certain degree, it's like, if I just can't let go of the idea, like, maybe there'll only be a few people out there who appreciate it. Maybe no one will, and it's just you. But but there's probably going to be a few people out there at the very least who can appreciate what you're doing. And if that's all there is, that's great. Like why not? Because not every idea has to be, make you a billionaire, right? Yeah. Sometimes the best ideas are just the ones that inspire a couple of other people,
Yes.
and help them, make the journey of life, right? So
yes.
I think you just have to keep your eyes focused on, like, creating the thing that you've been inspired to create, and it's like, kind of let God take care of the rest, right?
Yeah.
Which seems to be a lot of what you're doing, which again, very inspiring thing.
Yes, indeed.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's great.
So we asked about the Fellowship and Return journals. Sounds like we're hoping to get those eventually. And do you think you'll do the Hobbit at some point?
I think it'll depend on the group. I'll probably ask them if they want to try the Silmarillion next, or if they want to try the Hobbit.
I was going to ask you about the Silmarillion.
I can't imagine writing a journal for this. Silmarillion. That
would be
like,
a labor of love, and it would be
like 5 inches thick.
Yeah, there's a lot of depth. There's a lot of depth there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be. I think that would be really cool, personally. But
yeah.
You know.
Or you could start by just doing one for Beren and Luthien, because that story in and of itself,
seriously,
is so rich.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like here's the chapter on the geography of Beleriand. Let's do this.
Like, how can you grow in holiness?
Right.
That's right. through the geography of Beleriand. All right, cool. No, I'm sure you could do something with it because again, everything in Tolkien is so deep. But well, so Kaitlyn, this has been a great discussion. Any other items that we didn't cover that you want to share with the world at the moment?
Or with our little podcast following? Yes.
No, I think we covered pretty much everything.
Cool. All right.
Well, I love what you're doing. I know I've said it like
too.
a gazillion times.
Okay.
And thank you for being such a super fan of our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
This has been really fun.
It has been a lot of fun. And so when I say goodbye to everyone, stick around. Don't go anywhere for you. But but thanks for listening, everybody. And again, you need to go check out teawithtolkien.com. Lots of cool stuff to see, get involved with, get your hands on over there. Just do yourself a favor and go check it out because Kaitlyn is doing some really cool stuff, and she's got a great little community of folks with the Tea with Tolkien Facebook group. So
yes.
go check it out. And thanks for listening, everybody.
Yes, thanks, guys.
We will talk at you next time.
Yes, we will. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye. Please remember to check out truemist.org and tolkienroad.com for show notes and plenty of other Tolkien goodness. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, would you please leave the Tolkien Road a rating and feedback on iTunes? It's a great way to support the show and takes less than a minute. On our next episode, we'll resume our journey through The Lord of the Rings with Minas Tirith, Book 5, Chapter 1. Please send haiku or other correspondence to tolkienroadpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and until next time, the road goes ever on.